We're just going to wait one more minute. It looks like a bunch of people are still spooling on board here. Just give everybody a chance to get on board here. Make sure technology is not a reason for us getting started. So just hold on just 1 second. We'll get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Todd McDonald. I'm the Director of Program and Member Experience for the Cascade Pacific Council. I'm really excited to have you all here today. This is being recorded to make sure that we have some good guidance as to how we reopen scouting in this COVID world. There's some things we can do and some things we should avoid. And tonight we plan to address that. In addition, we're excited to announce some new things happening this summer. So stay tuned for that as well. So with that, let us begin. All right, let's talk about moving beyond the virtual. We've had a lot of opportunity to try to meet with people and talk with them about the virtual of scouting, so let's get going. First, let's talk about our agenda for tonight. We have housekeeping. We'll talk a little about duty, honor, and insurance, and what that means. Quick facts about COVID-19 and the 3 S's of COVID-19 safety. And again, phases at a glance. What is happening? Oops. I'm not sure, somebody's muting me. Hold on. Bear with me as I double check my audio here. Okay. All right. So anyway, so as we move forward, we'll want to make sure we talk about that. Let's get right into the about our housekeeping. Obviously, you don't get the microphones, no chatting. We are monitoring chat or your questions in the questions tab. You'll notice that you have a questions. Please keep all of your questions there. There are people here tonight that are on that. We'll be answering your questions, and periodically we'll stop and they will feed me some questions so I can get to you all to some of these questions in a group. You'll notice that there are 4 handouts you should have access to. And again, feel free to eat crackers since this is a Cracker Barrel. So here we go. Let's talk a little bit about this concept of duty, honor, and insurance. So let me ask you a question. How do you feel about this virus? What are your thoughts on the federal and state response? How do you feel about equity and fairness that is going on in our world? What is truth? And what do we have to depend on faith? I'm going to tell you that for the most part tonight, we're not going to address that. Because regardless of how we feel about what's going on around us, there are some things that we're bound by. We're bound by duty, honor, and insurance. As scouts, we have a duty to our country to follow the rules. And it's also our honor to be respectful, obedient, trustworthy, clean, and kind. This is who we are, and we need to be that. In scouting, you're covered under a liability insurance as an adult leader. This insurance is conditional, though, to following the Guide to Safe Scouting and our local rules. Much like littering, one person's actions is not noticed, but if everyone litters, we have an adverse effect on our world. So I guess what I'm saying is that we're all in this together. We're going to have to deal with the frustration of not being able to accommodate everything, do everything we want to do, even if we don't fully believe and the reason behind these rules. So with that, let's just go on that we are scouts. We're bound to a higher level, higher power, and that we're in this together, and we will be examples. I might go over some of the facts. These are facts. I've been working with the state virologist. I've been working with our COVID task force team, doctors and physicians, and also the governor's office and our environmental health departments. The COVID-19 virus is still prevalent in our community. I think we can see that the virus still kills people every day, especially the immunocompromised and the elderly. All right, that's something we know. COVID-19 virus is mainly spread by expectorating virally loaded droplets into the air. So basically, by us sneezing, breathing hard, spitting, whatever would cause us to make moist, droplets go into the air, we're more likely to create a instance of infection. And many infected are asymptomatic and pose a risk to the spread of the virus. This is something kind of unique to what we're seeing in COVID-19. The other thing that's a little bit controversial right now is the immunity of those who have been infected is still not well known. The virus is mutating as it grows, and the CDC advises that you can contract this virus again. It may be a new strain. And the new strain may be less or more potent. At this point, it is still on its own to decide that. But there is currently no vaccine or way to prevent this from our bodies necessarily, for sure, from getting this virus. And finally, the CDC and the Oregon Health Authority have shared that until a vaccine is developed, social distancing will be required to stay the uncontrolled spread of the virus. So until we can get better control over our ability to get immunity to this, we need to kind of stay away. So now I want to talk about the 3 S's of social distancing. By the way, if you've developed questions, please go ahead and toss them into the questions tab. We'll have opportunities to address them together here in a bit. All right, the 3 S's: screening, social distancing, and sanitation. For as long, and this, by the way, this is my thing, I haven't seen it anywhere else, but it's the heart of our safety strategy. And so I like to keep things simple, so let's use these 3. Let's talk a little bit in general about these, and we'll get to specific a little bit later. Again, go screening, I'll go back. Pre-screening. Before attending an activity, scouts, families must determine the health before participation. I mean, we need to train a culture of people to say, okay, let's do a check before we go out and see people. Am I immunocompromised? Is it dangerous for me to be around people? Am I not feeling well? Am I feeling fine? Have I been exposed? Do I know that? Should I be quarantined? And I prepare to follow the activity guidelines safely. And that's a question for a lot of our scouts need to know before they participate in an event. Then upon arrival, we need to remind everybody about those very same things at the beginning of each activity, and to ensure that we are being prepared ahead of time. All right, let's talk about social distancing. There is no substitute for social distancing in our world, as I spoke to before. The pre-planning of an activity to ensure social distancing is up to you and your unit. How is the space to be used to ensure social distancing in your meeting room or outdoor facility? Do you have enough chairs? Are you spacing them apart? Where are the activities going to be? How people gather? Those things. How are people getting to the activity? Do they have to carpool to get there? Is carpooling socially distantly responsible? Will face masks be practical? Sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. It's up to you to kind of evaluate. And most times, if you're not doing a lot of things, I mean, you may be able to get by without them. However, whenever possible, we should try to wear face masks. And then, are the group sizes that you have conducive to social distancing? We're going to talk about our guidelines for that here in a little bit. Then next, you as adult leaders, we need to think of how to create a social distancing culture. We need to treat social distancing infractions directly and seriously. I mean, not to the extent of youth protection, but close. We need to make sure people are being safe and responsible. Sanitation. Again, wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds with vigorous rubbing. Also, 60% alcohol sanitizer available. This is probably our new 11th essential for a while. Reminder that this is flammable, so keep it away from heat or open flames. Don't tell the scouts that it's flammable, though they'll probably already know. Now, bleach solution to be about 1,000 parts per million, which is enough to burn your hands. So gloves might be helpful. If you cannot bleach a surface or area, we recommend that you find a covering to put over it that can be bleached and sanitized. And again, about that is about a third cup of bleach per gallon based on the CDC. And later will be a link that you can use to go find out more about sanitization through the CDC. Again, you want to make sure you're sanitizing between uses and include hand sanitizing between activities as well. All right, jumping into the phases. This has been very confusing to me and has to be very confusing to you. There's a lot going on here. The information isn't easily relevant, and you wouldn't believe who I have to call and the number of people to get clarification on this stuff and how many days you have to wait. So if you're confused, you're not sure, I understand that. And if you're frustrated, you have every right to be. However, this is the best I've been able to get from the people I've been talking to, which has been pretty substantial. Baseline, which is us in Multnomah County, and others in Washington, I guess we'll talk about Washington, but in Multnomah County, we're in shelter in place. We can interact with each other, but no other outside actions without social distancing. So we can't have meetings, we can't have groups, we can't go travel, non-essential travel, we can't even go to work unless we're an essential worker. And that's what baselining is. In Oregon, we have phase 1 coming up, and many councils are in phase 1. So you can have groups of 25, but they say no traveling outside your area. Families can camp together at state parks, but you cannot bring non-family members with you, and the groups cannot be more than 10 people. Overnight group camping is not allowed. If you, in one of the guidelines, you'll see in there that the governor actually closed our resident camps for the entire state of Oregon. And that's just not us, that's every camp in the state. Again, we still need to be in phase 1, social distancing. Yes, you can get to a group of 25, but that group of 25 needs to be 6 feet apart. So the spacing that you have should meet that. And again, we're going to talk more specific in a minute. Okay, phase 2 in Oregon, all right, allows groups of up to 50 indoors, and traveling is allowed. I would say outside of your area. Groups of 100 are allowed outdoors. Outdoor group camping is not allowed. So still in phase 2, your troop or patrol or den cannot go camping as a group in Washington. Pools, bowling alleys, and other venues will open. And again, recreational non-contact sports like golf, paddleball, tennis will be allowed with special guidelines. However, social distancing of 6 feet must still be maintained. As I keep saying, social distancing is here to stay. Everything we do in our planning must include that. And then phase 3 will be basically back to normal. However, it's been very clear is that in Oregon, until a vaccine has been developed and is in widespread use, you don't go to phase 3. So until then, what we consider as normal when it happens. Get used to phase 2 for a long time, unless things get bad, then they might drop it back to phase 1. So, or back to all the way back to the beginning. So that is basically what I know about Oregon. There's a lot of other little pieces in this. I have provided some details on that in the handouts and some links that are coming in for a lot of the what ifs. But for the most part, that is the nuts and bolts where we're. For those of you wondering, we're about ready to get to a questions place. So just want to let you know I get through the phases here. Okay, Washington is different. Phase 1 is kind of where they start. Shelter in place And families are allowed interaction with no other without social distancing, much like our basic thing. We can't have meetings, can't have camping. Individuals and families can do some limited outdoor things like hunting and the like, but very little group activity. No group activities are allowed. Phase 2, which we've seen people coming into, and I believe Clark County is about ready to jump into, still has some pretty stiff limits. You can gather with no more than 5 people outside your household once per week. Right? Once a week, you can get together with up to 5 people outside of your household. Right? So it's a little bit more freeing in that you get to hang out with some other people, but again, you still have to maintain social distancing. Families can camp and include 5 non-household members once a week. Right, so now you can do some limited things. So in this particular area, a couple families probably can camp together. It's kind of what it's allowing for. However, that is the rules as it's stated. There's something else I need to share with you in a minute. It's a little frustrating when you deal with Washington phases, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Again, overnight group camping is still not allowed in phase 2, and social distancing is still in place. You still need to stay in groups of 5, or groups 6 feet away. Sorry. All right. Phase 3. This is where groups, and this is in Washington, groups of 50 allowed indoors and outdoors. They do not have a group of 100 people outdoors like in Oregon. Non-essential traveling is allowed. Outdoor groups, camping may be allowed. See county rules. And that's the thing you need to know. If you're going to engage in any activity in Washington, they've given Washington counties the ability to establish their own rules. So it may be okay to camp in Cowlitz County, but not in Clark County. So you'll have to pay attention to those rules as we go. And I'm on it. It's just, I'll do my best to keep you informed as I know, but it's a little hazy as to what counties are going to decide, when they're going to decide it, and how they're going to let us know about it. Again, pools, bowling alleys, and other venues will open in phase 3, and social distancing of 6 feet must still be maintained. All right, and then in phase 4, groups of over 50 are allowed, and basically normal outdoor recreation will be allowed. I don't know to what extent that may happen this summer or this fall, but they have a slightly different rule on that. Okay, so I'm going to go through now 3 more slides, and then I'm going to open up to questions. These 3 slides go with the Cascade Pacific Council rules. Up until now, I've kind of just shared what's going on with the state and the differences between things we need to fix. But here are our guidelines. Again, those let's start with screening. Those with significant risk of infection should consult a physician prior to participating. All right. By the way, this is on our website. All participants should review the current health prior to participating of an activity. All right. And again, we've talked about in screening. Those feeling well should participate whenever possible. Temperature checks of scouts and leaders should be made prior to participation. That's up to you. That's a little overkill, not required, but we recommend that as an activity, as something to be helpful. Just to ensure that you don't have anybody sick participating in an event. All units should produce a detailed roster of participants for all meetings and activities. Again, you can see the requirement for this when you're talking about contact tracing if you need to. And all those who have been exposed to coronavirus must quarantine for 14 days prior to participating in any scouting activity. All right, and then let's see. Social distancing. Again, we've talked about this. Group must always maintain social of 6 feet or more. Period. Right. That includes hiking, biking, and other activities. Groups should be limited to Dan and patrol groups of 10, even in the larger groups. Again, 10 or less scouts with a couple of adults. I guess that could be up to 12. Is how this is stated. The reason for that is a smaller group can maintain. It's easier to control social distancing than a much larger group. So trying to keep your smaller group social distance, and then that group again, social distance from the other smaller groups would make things better. And it may be kind of Scouts may go back to look a lot like Cub Scouts, with patrol activities being more prevalent than troop activities. That's up to you, and your spacing and the phases that you're in. For Cub Scouts, we recommend that a group of 5 youth and 5 adults be your size. It's just much easier to keep control and to maintain social distancing. Now, obviously, the parent-child do not have to worry about staying 6 feet apart, but they would need to do that between the other people. Transportation to and from activities should be made within family units, and no carpooling allowed. Carpooling is probably the worst violation in social distancing. Throwing people in a small space for a long period of time is you might as well just have them breathe on each other. So carpooling again is restricted outside of your family group. When practical, each scout and adult should wear a cloth mask. We're going to let you use your common sense when that makes sense for you and your group. I think whenever possible, you should. However, there's just some times where it just doesn't make sense, and we understand that. We'll let you decide that. Again, no camping is allowed in Oregon, and only in specific counties open up in Washington. Again, and then you have to watch travel restrictions. So I'm sorry to tell you that for most everybody, troop camping is probably not something that we're going to see until 2021. However, family camping is allowed. So a family can go camping in a campground and other things. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Let's talk about sanitization. Again, hand washing and sanitation of shared supplies areas must be used between use, so that you can get there and get these things taken care of. And just, what does that mean? Well, if one group uses a place and another group was going to, then go and wash it down, and whenever possible, have them wash their hands and use sanitizer on their hands. Again, families and siblings do not need to maintain social distance from transportation, sleeping, or meeting. And as long as they stay together, they really count as one group, if you will, in many ways, especially in Washington. If your county's status is shelter in place, you may not move to an open county to conduct unit activities. If you're still on basically, quarantine until your county opens up, you can't do anything outside of viral or virtual activities. And then even later, you can't transport to other areas until your county is opened up to do that as well. See my phasing discussion before and resources provided. You must pay attention to your municipality rules along with the municipality that you wish to travel to. So let's say that you are open to travel, and now you're going to travel like to, Klickitat County or something, and you need to go and double check what the rules are there, because they may be different. They may not allow certain things. You don't want to be surprised or, get in trouble. All right. So there's a kind of thing. We got through a lot of stuff there. At this point, let me open it up to our moderators to pose questions. All right, very good.
So what I was saying, Todd, is there are a number of folks that have asked questions. We've answered a number of them, but there are several that would be worth just verbalizing. So let's start with one that says, Ellen asked if an Oregon troop is in a county that is in phase 2, are they allowed to travel to a BSA camp that is open in a county in Washington?
So, interestingly enough, and I know what this is like, we've got essentially 2 camps in Washington or Idaho that may be open. And so, in theory, your county has said that they don't want you to travel and bring back, to you. So your county is basically saying do not travel outside of your area until you get to phase 3. So you would be acting outside of the guidance of your county for transportation and would not be compliant.
Okay. Let me find another question. Sorry, I was cleaning up. If our county, this is Aaron asking, if our county allows for outdoor groups of 100, can we have scout groups of more than 10 scouts?
Let me clarify that. How many people can be at an activity is based on your phases, which may be none, maybe it's 25, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 100. But regardless of that, we are saying you need to organize your scouts in groups of 10 to maintain proper social distancing amongst that group and other groups. We do not believe it is necessarily practical to try to put 100 people in any space without breaking them down into smaller groups with supervision. So yes, you can have more than 10 scouts, but we would want you to have them in smaller groups.
Todd, what defines a group? This is a question from Charlie. Does each county define what group camping is, and also what is considered traveling? If you live in one county, you are not allowed to travel to another?
The traveling distinction implies that it is not clear. So I ask that you just use your, if you're on a boundary line or something like that. But the idea being is that we don't want you to be traveling very far, unless your county allows that. So staying within your county is definitely compliant. And going outside of your county is in the gray area at this stage when it comes to that communication. And then as far as what are groups, they don't define what a group is specifically. They just tell you that assemblies can be certain sizes. So, and I'm turning that into an assembly for us would be our own scouting group. So you could have, and again, there's a lot of availability for scouting day activities, by the way. Hikes, bike trips, possibly even picnics, other things that you may do that meet the guidelines of the 25, 50, or 100, depending on what they are. I'm hoping that answered that question. It is a little confusing, and I know that.
Very good. So another question from Dave. If we can keep people 6 feet apart while traveling in a vehicle, does that meet the social distancing requirement?
Currently, I would suggest that if you've got a plan for that, then I would submit that to your district executive for approval at this stage. Remember that you're talking about putting people in a confined space for a period of time. And someone's told me, said, okay, well, I can put me and my son up in the front seat and 2 brothers in the back seat of a Suburban, and we should be fine. Well, frankly, in Oregon, in Washington, in phase 2, I think you can do that. Anyway, but we recommend that whenever possible, that carpooling is not it should not be used outside of your family groups. So again, if you have, I don't know if you have a bus or you have some other things and you want to talk to us about what that is, but I'm not even so sure that a minivan or a Suburban makes sense at this stage for if we really want to be within the guidelines.
Okay, a couple people have asked where to find the 4 handouts. I believe that they could be found under a tab titled handouts or a button titled handouts. There are 4 handouts in the session, so hopefully you can find those. We'll also have those on the web, I'm sure. Todd, a question from Tracy. What about nights camping for rank requirements? And I guess let me just say that there's a similar question about family campout. Can family campouts be counted towards nights camping? Thank you.
Yeah, and I do believe I have to admit that I have not got the clarifying from our advancement committee, but I do believe that there are guidelines as to how to do those advancement activities through family camping and other means. And so, and unfortunately, I don't have that to share with you today, but what I will do is I'll email it out to the group after the webinar, because I have all the group emails.
Okay, several questions still about, and keep coming in about moving from county to county. Our county is closed. Can we move our pack over or troop over and do activities in a county that's open? What's our advice on that?
So we're saying at this point, no. That if your county is closed and you are, for instance, supposed to stay at home or not travel, we want you to stay within those guidelines. And so, for instance, I'm sitting here in Southwest Portland. Me and my family are kind of stuck until, until this thing, we get to phase 1, or phase 2, which we're hoping is going to happen, or phase 1, which should happen here in June. So, and then when that happens, then it opens you up to the next thing. So, being patient and paying the rules of your phase based on your county. And then again, I want to tell you guys in Washington, or anybody trying to get to Washington, you got to do some research, because not every county is equal. And and from what I understand, for instance, it's the reason why Edwards and Parsons can't open, but Fire Mountain thinks that they can, because the same counties, they're in basically the same level, but their county governments had made different rules. And so please pay attention to that.
Okay, so just for clarification, it sounds like some folks, your webinar screen, it looks like it has a handouts button that looks like a piece of paper. So if you don't see the word handouts, you might look for a button that looks like a sheet of paper with no titles, if you haven't found it yet. Thanks to several people who shared that. One question from Laura: can scouts camp this way? Each family camp in their own site, cook separately, etc., and then if social distancing happens, do daytime activities together with other camping families from our troop?
I do believe that scenario can exist starting now in many in most places, except for, I guess, Multnomah County, and that is that you could do that. You have to consider a few things. One is that each family group has to be under 10, and that family group can only it must stay social distance from the other family groups, but the family group itself can break the 6-foot social distancing guidelines. So that is a potential thing. For instance, let's say you got 5 families that want to go to a state park, or again, something I'm going to share here in a little bit, at maybe Camp Meriwether. You can do that, but you cannot break the social distancing guidelines between family groups.
Another question from April, and then maybe we'll take a break if you've got more material. If we're in phase 2 for Oregon in September, will family camping at Camp Meriwether be open?
And so, yes, it is our intent to open up Camp Meriwether, Camp Clark, Camp Pioneer, and Camp Baldwin for family-based camping starting July or June 30th or July 1st. I can't remember the date now. But right at the beginning of July. Now, again, safety guideline will still have to be in place. Oregon is unique in that it does allow for transportation to some of these activities. And so I don't want to go into too much details about our program, because we still are in communication with each county to make sure that we're not breaking some of their rules. And we hope to have all those answers squared away and reservations going by June 12th. Okay, so let's see. I did notice on here one of the questions, the word trip permit was used. Please know that we do not require trip permits. However, but if you are unsure as to whether or not you're meeting the guidelines based on the information we provide here, please either contact myself or your district executive, and we will help you sort out the guidelines so that you're operating safe. So just to let you know. Okay, with that, I am going to go ahead and move on to the next thing. There's still more questions, and I guarantee you I will stay on until all your questions are answered when this thing's all done. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part. All right, now I'd like to just share a little message from our Scout executive about what things we've got going on.
And what does success look like in 2020? Well, a couple years ago at the Court of Honor, I shared that I had read a book at a time called Building a Bridge as You Walk on It. Think about ants on a journey, on a path, and they come across a crevasse and they build a bridge. Well, what does it look like now that we've announced that we cannot do our traditional summer camping programs? You probably know that that's 40 to 50% of our budget every year. Well, to quote our board chair, Mark Gans, we are not only coping with and doing our best to handle the challenges from COVID-19, but we're accelerating through the pandemic. We've taken the opportunity to continue to build the best camps of all time. Not only the best CPC camps, but the best camps anywhere. We're doing things like building new flushing latrines, building dozens of new hand washing stations. We also, this summer now, are going to break ground on the bunkhouses and cabins at Camp Meriwether. As you can see on the screen, there are images of 3 bunkhouses and 2 cabins. During the summertime, those will house our seasonal staff. But year-round, they'll be used for incredible purposes, not limited to, but hosting events like outdoor school. So the future looks really, really bright. Another improvement that we've talked about for a few years is renovating the old boathouse, which is located on the north side of Chamberlain Lake, into an incredible new ecology nature lodge. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait for you to get back and see our camps. We are only about 58, 59 weeks away from end of June 2021. And now that we can't do summer camps like we normally do in 2020, I hope you'll join me in looking forward to the best camps ever, summer of 2021. Thank you very much for all you do for Scouting. Even with this pandemic, I am wildly optimistic Scouting will be fantastic the rest of this year and into the future for many years to come. Be well and have a great evening.
So that's a little message, again, talking about our future, the direction that we're going. I'm really excited about some of this next things. The family, we're about ready to start the 2020 Adventure Club. And so let me share with you a little bit about what you can expect that is coming very, very soon. Let's see. All right, so the membership is going to be based on weekly activity programs. Again, 8 weeks of that, 3 big events. Cub Scout summer camp programs will be delivered to the home. Again, a STEM Nova weekly program for Cub Scouts. Again, this should be really exciting for all of our Scouts. It's something that we do. We expect a lot of people to do this and to get involved. What does this mean for you? If you're involved with the Cub Scout, you're going to get 8 themed weekly activities. So a box of materials will arrive each week at your home, and then you'll get weekly recognition for completion of these activities. And these activities are just a tremendous amount of fun, things that you can do with your families and the like throughout the week. And then also, we have Camp Ireland Construction in a Box programming that would come with virtual programs that you can do at home. Again, Butte Creek Wild West Adventure, and then the Camp Clark Galactic Night Academy. And all these programs are very creative. They got a lot of fun things involved. And what's really kind of cool is that most people only choose 1 or 2 activities that they do during the summer. But if you wanted to as a family, or a Cub Scout family, you could do all three. And then obviously I talked about these STEM Nova weekly activities. That's a separate box and things that you can do. There was 3 big events, and one coming up really soon is our hiking challenge, and then next will be our scavenger hunt event, and then a virtual 5K. And then we're not forgetting you guys in Scout BSA either. 16 merit badges going to be offered this summer. 8 weeks of program, and you could do 2 merit badges per week. Again, we're only teaching 2 different merit badges per week, or you could choose 1 merit badge and do our Trail to First Class program. And we think we can cover nearly 70% of the requirements in Trail to First Class, many of which obviously, those of you that know, you're not going to be able to do that. But let's talk a little bit about what you can expect, because I know there can be a lot of questions here about the what ifs, and we're about ready to get you out your guidebook on this whole adventure very, very soon. It's just not ready tonight. And all of the programs for the Scout BSA programs will be taught by your summer camp merit badge counselors. So 18 and older people will be put together in a place where they'll be teaching these programs from a centralized location with a tremendous amount of bandwidth, so that they can meet your needs of each scout, of many scouts as well. Merit badge will be released this week, but most are uncommon. But there are some Eagle requireds in there. Scouts will be required to do the work and turn into evidence of completion. So unlike them going to a session at summer camp and they participate in the activity and then they check them off for getting completed, no, we will do the activity so that they will help them fill out a sheet, do whatever work that they need to do, and then present that to the counselor for completion. So it's going to be a little bit different. The scout will be required to do all the work and show evidence of each requirement completion on their own. Again, we're looking at 3 1-hour-long Zoom sessions for each of the merit badges and the Trail to First Class program. The classes will be scheduled throughout the day, depending on, so if you signed up for a class, it may be offered multiple times a day so that we can keep the group small. So we'll have Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday classes, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday classes, probably at 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, and 5, I think is kind of what we're looking at. So just kind of be prepared for that. Scoutmasters will need to sign off the Trail to First Class requirements. Obviously, as for us, we won't do that, but the scouts will be asked to submit the documentation to both the counselor and the Scoutmaster. And then also, I should say in here is that the Scoutmaster is going to have to be involved in this so that we know who you are, so we can communicate what we know, and also so that you can communicate to us that they're approved to take the merit badges. And that will come in a form that you will need to complete as a Scoutmaster. Those things we'll talk about a little bit. And again, we still have the hiking event, scavenger hunt challenge, and the virtual 5K as activities to happen this summer. All right, let's talk a little bit about family camping. I posted in one of the handouts kind of our guidelines for family camping. And we'd like to start this out July 1st or so. More information to come out this week, and with signups happening as early as 1st of or June 12th. All right, so essentially we're going to do overnight at Meriwether, Clark, Baldwin, and Pioneer. Again, families only. So this is like camping at a state park, right? You'll show up, you'll be assigned your location, and you'll need to maintain social distance with other families and the staff that's there. Camp staff will be there, but they're limited interaction because we want to protect them as well, and they're going to be there for many, many weeks. So they'll help us check in, check out. They'll be doing sanitation and cleaning, and will help with some basic problem solving while you're there. Our goal is to assign a shower, a bathroom, and campsites per family, so that you will know, where's your place and where you can get dirty. We'll still clean them, but less likely for cross-contamination in that way. I told you we'll start June 12th. Families are allowed to come and go from the facility. Summer camp staff will be doing building and maintenance projects, so kind of get used to that. And some of the facilities will have some commercial construction going on as well. Still working on At Baldwin, we'll be working on some shower houses, and we're still getting all of the shower house shelters and wash stands and other work done. And of course, at Meriwether, we're going to start that amazing program there in the heart camp. So we're still going to allow family camping there. People need to be aware that there's going to be some stuff going on. We'll convey that when we go. Before I get into the credits, I know it's going to be a big question. I also want to say that we jump back and forth between family camping. We are not running a family camp, and that's important because the Boy Scouts of America has very specific rules with that, and so does the state of Oregon. We are running a recreational property, and the Boy Scouts and the state of Oregon treat that differently. So what that means is that we cannot provide food service, and we cannot provide program, or very limited program. So we're just basically providing a camping facility, and that's how we can operate under this rule. By the way, we're only about a week into being able to do this, and so we've been moving really fast trying to get this all squared away. By the way, I'm excited to announce that all of our camps will be staffed by our summer camp leadership, who will be there to help advance our program, make sure that some amazing stuff happens, and camps will really be ready for 2021. I have 3 goals in mind, and one is to make sure that you guys all of our families get an outdoor camping experience best we can this summer. 2 is that we can make our camps sparkle and be the best camps in the country by the end of the summer. And then finally, that our staffs who are working together this summer can start preparing now for the most amazing camp season in 2021. All right, let's talk about the credits. This is going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. And so let me just kind of go over this briefly. How we're going to apply credits is that you will get a chance to ask for your credit to be applied, and either we will handle that and let you know that we handled it, or we will call you and we'll handle it with you. So that is the main piece of what we're going to do. So let me talk a little bit about some of the details. Because we have the candy sale credit, we have a unit credit for camping and event cancellation. So you were going to summer camp, or you were going to go to the iFly event or at iFly, and so now we canceled that event. You have a credit in your account, and you would like to apply that. But if it's a unit credit, that means many people. I'm sorry, and then you've got this camp scholarship credit. So you were given a camp scholarship, and we're going to communicate to all of you who have received a camp scholarship and give you the ability to ask for that credit to be moved to these programs. So we're going to extend that out as well. So again, we're going to send out this form. It says mail. It's going to be emailed out to you. This is a digital form. And then you'll just fill it out, and you'll hit submit, and you'll let us know what you want to do. One of the things I want to tell you is kind of complicated is the credit from camp event cancellations. Because if it's a unit account, that means there are multiple people who are spreading that credit around. And so it's going to be up to the unit leader, if you will, to let us know how to apply that credit. So we will be asking you, who do we ask for? So contact the unit and say, how much do I get to use? Let's say they say, well, you get to use $50 of that. And then you let us know, and then you just send us the email or contact information of the person that gave you that amount. Once we get that confirmation, we'll apply the credit. I know it sounds crazy. If for some reason there's any issues, our credit solutions will come from our council services staff. They have proven themselves admirable through this whole process. I do believe that we all value their efforts and their ability to handle this, and they will take the brunt of how to get through this smoothly. All right. I think that is going to be the end of my thing. So I'm ready for any other questions that we have that we want to get through. And again, I'm here until you are done. We've answered most of the questions that we can answer. So.
Okay, Todd, so this is Jim again. If you open your questions panel, Todd, and click on the received column, and you'll resort it by received, you'll see that I flagged all the unanswered questions in red there. Might be easier to go through those. First question, That'll
Let's see.
help you a little bit, I think.
Yeah, give me a second while I get set
Yeah,
up
you
here
bet.
on that. And it says, and so what I'm doing is I'm not going to look at the ones that have the ones that have the flags on it. That's the ones.
Yep, the red flags. Look for those, and then I'll kind of unclick those when you're going through them.
All right. All right.
Maybe read the questions so folks know.
Okay. This thing here. Okay. So, and am I doing the ones with the checks or without the checks?
With the red flags.
Okay. All right. All right. So, let's see. Where are the handouts?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that one. I'm looking. I'm on all the way up at 4 o'clock here. So,
Maybe sort by received so that you get the most current ones.
okay.
Let me answer one question real quick. What's the process for signing up to family camp at a council camp? We will very soon have information up on our website, Facebook, etc., and we'll have instructions for signing up for all of these activities that Todd has introduced, adventure club, family camps, and those sorts of things in the next week or so. Those things are in development now, so we don't have enough details to really confidently put things up at the moment.
All right. And so, Jim, just really quickly here, just so that I understand, because I just want to make sure. I'm looking here from Ashley Stevens, asked a question about camperships.
How about this? I'll read the questions to you. I was trying to make it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, Juanita asked a question. Would Cub Packs be able to hold their own day camps? And go ahead.
And well, I suppose here that's an interesting question. So let's go this way. The rules don't change based on the question. So, if you can figure out, let's say that you can have a group of 100, let's say that gets to be a point, or 25 or 50 outside, and you want to provide your own activity, you can keep those groups, if they're Cub Scouts, in groups of 10 with adults and youth together. You can't really call it a day camp, but you can run a family activity for that. All day camps must be run through the council program department, and requires way too many rules for anybody wanting doing that on their own. However, if you as a pack want to put together an event and you can maintain all the rules described, then you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay, will service projects be available at the family camps?
I believe, we are still working on those. And the answer to that is there'll be a way of you to be of service. And most of that may be in cleaning and sanitation projects and not in facility projects, because we're trying to maintain social distancing of a lot of those. However, if there are projects that will be available, we will let you know upon arrival. But for the most part, think of taking on more rudimentary tasks as opposed to like helping us build a table or a dining hall or new picnic tables, what are those things are.
A lot of questions about what the fee will be for Adventure Club and for family camps. At this point, those aren't set in stone yet, but do you have any comments?
So I'll tell you what our goal was, and I'll let you know where it was. Is that we're trying to keep the cost down to right around $100 for the camp ones, because there's a lot of stuff in those boxes, and right around $40 a week cost for the Adventure Club weekly activities, as far as a price for you. So again, I can't guarantee you that, but that is the thought process we were on Friday, and I gotta tell you, we're working all weekend. And we'll be working all day Saturday and all day Monday, Tuesday until this is all done. And we're already buying the boxes and on all that stuff. So we're kind of getting some ideas as to what the costs are going to be. So we are close, but look for that to come mid to later next week.
Okay, two questions. How do these restrictions apply to units going to sea base this summer? And the second kind of related question is, are there restrictions on swimming?
Okay, so interesting. Because we are operating as a recreational facility at our camps, we will not be providing aquatic or shooting or any of those type of activities, because we are not allowed to under the rules of the state. However, it is clear to me that pretty soon, depending on your phases, and I put this in the guidelines, that pools will open. And when that, and they will be operating under guidelines of which you can follow. I've not seen their guidelines yet, so I am unsure. I do know that the rules at the sea base will apply with the guidelines that have been established by the National BSA in places where swimming and these things are allowed. And I look forward to seeing what they do. As far as travel is concerned, the National has made the standpoint, and this may be the case. If you are, let's say, if you're signed up to go to Fire Mountain or to the sea base or some sort of other camp somewhere where you have to travel, why don't you just contact us and make sure that we can give you the green light on that, and that way you'll know it for sure. For the most part, National has basically said that if your state allows you to travel, then you can travel to us. That's about their guidelines. So we're going to stick with that as well. So I know it's almost a non-answer, but the reality is it all depends on what the National is going to offer and what our state is saying.
I'm trying to be clear, we're a unit in Washington and Clark County. If Clark County moves to phase 3 and the county we plan on having a camp at is in phase 3, can we have a unit camp out? I think I read that correctly.
Yes. So that's it. Let's see here. I can never say phase 1. let me go back to my slide. Just because I get them confused as well. Bear with me. This is a yeah. Okay. So my answer to that is please check with your county. So possibly. Washington's guidelines to camping by groups is far less clear that I've been able to find. And as you get to open phase 3, double check with your county and what they're going to allow. Like for instance, the county that Parsons was in basically said no. The county that Fire Mountain was in originally said no, and now they're saying yes. So it all depends on them, and your ability to abide by the municipality is going to be what's most important. Also, let me share a couple things just that may be of interest to you, and that is that I didn't say about Butte Creek. We're looking at Butte Creek being open for day activities, and you're going to say about Lewis. I'm not ready to discuss what our plans are for Lewis and Ireland at this stage. My guess is that we will not open Ireland because they only have single access point in and out of camp, and for the most part, and that doesn't work well towards being safe. But we do have some plans for Lewis that we're still working on. So I'm sorry I can't tell you that. I will also let you know that we haven't completely given up on horses yet. We are working on through our health and safety committee some guidance as to where we may be able to provide a limited horse experience.
Sorry. Will camper ships, I'm sorry, I think I answered this. Will camper ships be available? Let me start over. Will the camper ships be able to be applied to the cost of summertime adventure programs?
Yes, on the form that we will provide. In fact, we will send, if you received a camper ship, you'll be getting a notification for us as to how to apply that camper ship to the summer adventure program. That email hopefully will go out Monday, maybe Tuesday. If you would like to participate in our camper ship program for this effect, you can still apply, and the forms are still available on online forms still available on our website.
A question from Tracy. I saw on one of your slides that in Oregon, phase 2, pools will be reopening. I've heard that most pools in Oregon will be remaining closed over the summer. Do you know if any of those are community pools opening in Oregon this summer? And a related question, we've had several people asking whether our lakes will be open if we have family camps and so forth.
Well, unfortunately, so let me start with the first question, and I'm just telling you what they're saying. It's interesting that when you look on their documentation about, I'm gonna run back into that one. It does say that pools, bowling alleys, and other venues will be open, and guidelines will given. It's in there in the phase 2 documentation and all that stuff. However, I continue to hear from the state that they're not, but they continue to say that they're going to open pools. And so I can tell you this, that Multnomah County are not going to open their pools this summer. So just because one can open one, they can't. Here's our problem with the Boy Scouts of America and the use of water areas, and we are working on this in the next week. It may take a little bit longer to get through this, but we can't say, swim at your own risk. So we have to develop guidelines and protocols by which people can utilize the waterfront, which we do have, and so we're evaluating that with our risk management group as it is. And our thought is, splashing around is one thing, but swimming out in the middle of the lake is another. And so we will have to get back to you on what swimming activities are. I can tell you this, is that we're not going to open up the ocean for swimming at Meriwether. However, there's enough creeks and all that stuff to play in down there. And if somebody, gets their feet wet because the waves come in, that's one thing. And if you want to go to the tide pools, that's going to be allowed. Understand that these guidelines will be identified in a handout for each property.
Okay. Hey, sorry about that. So we've had over 200 attendees and probably 250 or 300 questions. So getting through those is a bit of a challenge. Appreciate all the good questions, though. Several folks looking for estimate cost for the family camp. We talked about Adventure Club, but they really didn't define family camp cost yet. And I know that's still in flux as well.
We're still in the works on that. It's going to be probably about we literally have been running through this budget, and it keeps changing. I will tell you this, is that weekend camping and weekday camping will have a different price, just like it is in many other places. And we're trying to limit participation to the number of shower stalls that we have. That's something that's going to be part of there. And we just now think we have an idea of our costs so that we can identify what the price would be. It's our hope that it not be much more than it would be if you were at a state park, but knowing that you would have far less competition for space and noise and people. You'd be more separated, because at Meriwether we're looking at maybe 20, right? 20 families in, all of that, and at Clark maybe 10. So it kind of and Camp Pioneer maybe like 8. Right? So these will be pretty intimate experiences for you at our camps. So I'm sorry I can't tell you exactly, because I don't want to tell you something and have it change, but that guidance of trying to be right in and around what you're going to pay at a state park, but getting so much more is what we're going for.
So a specific question is, how do we sign up for the Cub Scout program you just described, but we might just in general describe how we plan to roll these out and what signups might be like.
So I know that all week long we'll be putting things on our Facebook page and throughout the opening of these programs. And it is our hope, I think it'd be, we'll have a launch date and a website. You can go to our website now on this and just see some general information. But my guess is that we'll say, okay, now it's open, or we're going to open today, Friday at noon or something like that. And then everybody have the ability to jump in. So I would look through your emails if you're not on the council's email list, and Facebook if you don't like us on Facebook. Those are the two places where you're going to get most of the information about that. It's our hope to open on the 12th.
Okay, could you choose the family to share the campsite with if you're going to family camp?
You can only be in a campsite by yourself with your family.
I think some of our campsites, yeah. I think the question is more about, could I be near a family that I want? And I think we'd do the best that we can. And that has yet to be determined as well.
we are looking at a bunch of different reservation for possibilities for our camping on our properties for families, and in that you will get the opportunity to share with whoever's going to be running that program at that property what your interests are, and they will then do their best to assign you appropriately. So I can't guarantee anything, but you got to know that we're going to do our level best to meet everybody's needs.
Okay. Is there a way for Scoutmasters from neighboring councils to sign off on youth who would like to participate in Scouts BSA Adventure Camp?
There's nothing prohibiting any scout or anybody, non-scout, scout from anywhere in the country or the world, other than maybe language, from participating in any of our programs. In fact, the Cub Scout program is not doubted as a Cub Scout program. It literally is going to be open to the general public. So this Summer Adventure Club is open to the entire country.
Okay, there's a question about summer camp staff. Are you still hiring summer camp staff? Questions from Debbie. Debbie, we will have just a few, as in 3 to 4 staff at the camps that we run the family camps at. Hopefully that answers your question. We'd love to have far more than that, but with the social distancing rules and requirements that we're within, we have to protect our summer camp staff, and the best way is to have as few as possible.
I see Kara Kirtland's one in here. I could answer
Please,
that.
yeah, do that one.
Kara, what we're going to do is we're going to try to have the youth videotape what they're doing, either on through their own little their phone or whatever, and provide that to us and to their scout leadership at the same time. We're working on a tool for them to upload that information to fulfill those requirements, and then be able to show their Scoutmaster that they did it in that way. Have we completely figured that out yet, Kara? No, but pretty smart minds are on it.
Is there a cap on the number of kids in the summer adventure program?
No.
For the adventure camp, you had mentioned.
I did tell people that I wouldn't take more than 900 at first glance for the Scout BSA piece. If that gives you an idea as to the lengths we will go for this program, and if much more than that, I'll have to hire more people, many more people, and so I have a plan. I mean, and so yeah, I'll have to look at that as that comes. But currently, there's nothing. It's just our ability to send out the boxes for most of it, and so some of it just may be about time and how long it takes to get you the box. So
there's still a number of questions unanswered. If we don't quite answer the question the way you were intending to ask it, please send it. If we don't get finished tonight, please do send to info@cpcbsa.org. That's the email address that's listed on the front page of our website, info@cpcbsa.org. We don't want you to leave here and not have your question answered, and we'll do our best to follow up with you. Another question from Amy. For the adventure camp, you had mentioned keeping merit badge classes small, kind of related to what we just talked about. How many scouts do you anticipate being in each class?
So, but I should be clear that the program,
About 900.
The programs that will have classes are going to be the Cub Scout STEM, okay, and Scout BSA merit badges and Trail to First class. And my goal is 15. I don't know what the STEM group sizes are. I think they can have many because there's just presentation and then the people do the work. So they didn't seem to have much of an issue with very, very large groups for the STEM program. But for the merit badge pieces, I'm trying to keep it to 15 in the Trail to First class. Jim, I now see what you're talking about. I get it now.
Okay.
Because it was this question one, what about youth protection for non-scouting adults using these facilities? Was that the one?
Yep, do that one.
Okay, so I can run down through here a bit and you can kind of tee them up for me. So non-scouting adults, if they're part of the family, all right, well, as long as there is somebody there who is a member of the family and is a registered youth or adult, then we're going to allow that. We will ask everybody to behave with youth protection in mind, but again, we're going to ask that they stay within their family groups anyway, and no one-on-one contact in that. So it's going to be part of the orientation, people showing up, but yeah, we won't necessarily require youth protection of every adult who comes on property. Let's see. Is there a cap on the number of kids in summer camp? Oh, no, I already talked about that one. Here's one. If no vaccine has been released by the summer of 2021, what happens with the National Jamboree? Well, if we're exactly where we are now, a year from now, Jamboree will probably be canceled. But we don't anticipate that to be the case. So it's a tough, Earl Farnsworth brought this up. I don't have an answer for that, but my guess is that the communication will happen all the way through the process. And let's pray that the situation goes. I have been given from some pretty good sources that we should be able to operate with some limited changes to how we do things by summer of 2021. The science is there, the expectations there, but there's no guarantees at this point. All right, and Kelly Eakins says estimated cost for family camp. Again, I talked a little bit about that. We're still working on that, somewhere around what it costs to be a your normal program, a normal type of thing. So let's see. I'm going to go pretty quickly here because I know that we're into this better than an hour. How can we sign up for Cubs? Oh, we talked about that one already. Scout BSA cost is going to be the same, Alan, as the Cub camping ones, or the Cub programs. We're trying to keep it all the same. Obviously, Alan, that the Scout BSAs won't necessarily be able to participate in the they can participate in the Cub Scout ones. Quite frankly, your first year Scout types might enjoy at least the one that we did for Clark. It's got some pretty cool science and stuff in it, but
can camping with your family count towards rank advancement?
I'm going to send that out to the greater group, the guidelines on that. I do not believe that. I do believe that there are some consolations on achieving your rank advancement in COVID, and a pretty good document has been given out on that. And I don't have it right here in my fingers. I'm going to send it out to everybody who signed up here today, and we'll make sure that's available. I do believe it's on our council website under advancement, but there's some pretty good guidelines on that I will share with your group. I'm sorry I don't have the answer for that right now.
Will the units not be able to camp together at all until after a vaccine is released?
In Oregon, from what our government is saying as of today, that is the case. Washington has a different thing in phase 4, which are different. And again, Washington has, because Fire Mountain is open, there are conditions by which they will allow organized camping, which is not allowed in Oregon. So again, yes and no, unfortunately, is the answer. Depends on where you are and what you're doing. Unlikely.
Connor has asked, when will we be able to meet in person again? I assume for like unit activities, unit meetings.
I would say that in phase 2, whenever you can get to a group of 25 people, which we talked about earlier.
Following your state and county guidelines, you bet.
Yeah, then you can start meeting in person. You just have to maintain social distancing.
Is there anything specifically planned to support venturing at this point?
No, but the guidelines are the same. And so there's nothing different about the guidelines for Cub Scouts, Scout BSA, and venturing and Sea Scouts for that matter.
For BSA merit badge classes on video, how much is actually taught versus the boy doing it on his own? Question mark. Obviously, there will be on your own work regardless, but will the instruction include like it would be in a classroom?
So
Probably would depend on the badge, but yeah.
I would say that if you're experienced, the idea being is we're going to talk about some stuff, and some stuff you'll be assigned to do, but you can bring it up if you had problems in the next class. Also, the scouts will have access to their counselor during their time to answer those questions that they have. But if they can't, some of the things they're going to have to read in the merit badge book. But they'll be given an assignment to go look on something on Google. And so then they'll have to go and do the work and answer the questions, submit those answers, and then we'll have review and those things. And our plan is the Friday sessions will be review activities. So we'll spend that time reviewing the merit badges with the scouts on the Friday of each week, or the third session of each merit badge. So no, it is not going to be just like that. We're not going to teach them and have them say something, or have somebody next to them say something and cross it off. They'll have to take the information that we get, read the information in the book, check the information online, and answer the questions and do the work and show that they've done it. I hope that helps. The only thing we will have to work is the things that are requirements like discuss and show, and some of those ones we'll have to figure out how they're going to do that, because we'll have to have a discussion. The words tell and discuss are ones that we'll have to do in person for sure. They'll involve the counselor.
So Todd, the last question that I have unanswered to this point from somebody that's still in the meeting is from Laura. How strict is 10 kids per meeting? Not to nitpick, but my troop has 11 boys.
Oh, well, this is what I would say. Then what I would do is I would split the 11 boys in 6 and 5, right? And you still have your meeting. It's just, they have their own separate little deals. Would I have a heart attack if you decide to try to social distance with 11? Okay, but this becomes that slippery slope. Okay, then what about 12? What about 14? What about 18? So we're asking you to use good judgment and understanding that at some point the space, the scouts involved, and the numbers of them are going to make it hard to stay socially distanced. So please use good judgment and planning to ensure that you can maintain social distancing in your meetings. And if you can do that with the 11, great. That's what it's all about. Okay, well, I think at this point, again, I have up on here this, slide of, or I'll get down here again, leave these things. If you need the materials, or if you need anything, please feel free to contact us, and we'll do our best. Understand that we really care. We really want you guys to have our scouts to have this great experience. And so if I am at troop right now, I'm going to plan patrol hikes, and I'm going to do it yesterday, right? I'm going to take, at the minute that I can take 25 people on something, well, I'm not going to take 25, but I might take 14, right? And I'm going to hike up somewhere. We're going to stay 6 feet apart. We're going to bring our stuff. We're going to be safe, and we're going to talk. We're going to sit around eating our lunch 6 feet apart. We're going to go over things. Might even be able to do some activities. I'm going to, as soon as I can, I'm going to start having troop meetings. Maybe it won't be for the entire troop, for those of you monster troops that have way more than the lives. Maybe you have it on different nights. Maybe it becomes patrol things. We have enough stuff now to engage our program, and I want to make sure that we all know that. And then finally, we are here for you. One of my things that I was very troubled by this presentation was to come on as necessarily the thou shalt or your government interaction person to make this stuff happen. And you got to know that we're with you. If you've got a great idea and you think it's going to work and it doesn't meet what I said, just reach out to us. We'll work with you to make it all work. So again, to take a second, I want to thank Chris Harold and Jim Hill for the monitoring. They did a fantastic job once again, representing you and supporting that.
Can I squeeze in one more question?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit unrelated to what we've been talking about, but I think it's a really valid question. It's from Joanna, who asks, if a PAC wants to earn the Summer Outdoor Activity Award, we obviously can't plan PAC activities each month. Can we give goals like creating your own bike rodeo activity and send a pic of you participating? Some flexibility, maybe.
I think that you as a PAC can do this virtually. I was just, we got so messed up in doing a lot of this other work that we didn't provide the guidelines on the summer adventure program. So, and definitely, if you guys enhance and participate in the summer adventure club, you'll easily get the that as a program. And again, remember that most of you will have the ability to do some limited activities. So what I would say is just get creative, find a way to do scouting each month in some way. And if it's virtually, or you meet together in a park for a picnic or something, then go for it. And we believe that the summer adventure program, or you should be able to get the PAC Summertime Award this summer. With a little bit of creativity.
All right, that's it. Thanks, Todd.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Those 120 odd people that decided to stick to the very end, way to go. Again, thank you so much. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. For that, we're going to go ahead and cancel our meeting or stop our meeting and just tell you all thank you so much for all that you do.